Welcome back to Square Off. National politics dominated the headlines last week. The stories resonating here in Arizona. The Trump indictment, the Wisconsin Supreme Court election, the expulsion of 2 Tennessee House members. Joining us to make sense of it all, Cani, Democratic consultant at Slingshot Campaigns and a former Biden campaign official here in Arizona, and Matt Benson, Republican consultant at Veritas Strategies and former spokesman for Governor Jan Brewer and 2022 candidate for governor Karen Taylor Robeson. Welcome back to Square Off. First, I have to ask you, any disclosures we need to do know about potential conflicts that might arise in any of the topics we're talking about? We're all good?
We're good.
All good. Good to hear. Let's get going. Let's start with the historic indictment of Donald Trump, first former president charged with a crime. There are questions about how strong the case is, but the hearing, it appears, will likely go into next year. The Arizona presidential primary is next March, just 11 months away. Does the indictment make it less or more likely that Trump could win the Arizona primary?
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt. It makes it more likely. It puts him in a stronger position. And I think you've seen that nationally, a circling of the wagons, if you will, around the former president. It puts his challengers like Ron DeSantis in an impossible position of actually having to defend Donald Trump against some of these charges. So there's no question his indictment was a very bad day for Ron DeSantis and actually, ironically, a good day for the former president.
Have you seen any signs that DeSantis has any people here in Arizona or any other potential presidential candidates have people on the ground or getting ready to come here?
Not yet in Arizona. I mean, Arizona's primary is going to be, backdated a bit in terms of some of the other ones that'll run first, but there's no question DeSantis will have resources. He'll have a large operation here.
On to Wisconsin, my former home. A Democrat won the Supreme Court election there. Abortion rights were on the ballot. So was the extreme gerrymandering of the Wisconsin legislative districts. So too was a 2024 presidential election that could be decided by that Supreme Court. Here, let's go back to the abortion question. Here in Arizona, there's a plan to put reproductive rights on the 2024 ballot as an initiative. Is the Wisconsin vote a good sign for that? Does it transfer, or is it just kind of a one-off?
I think this is another example of one major thing I've been focusing on, which is the huge gap or struggles that Republicans are having with the youngest voters. And so in Wisconsin, the percentage was maybe 82% of younger voters voted in favor of the Democratic candidate. And in Arizona, in the Senate race, only 20% of young people voted for the Republican candidate, which is the biggest gap that in the entire country. And I think that is showing that even though voter turnout's relatively low among that group, when you have a margin that big, you net enough votes. And that is a huge story with all of these culture wars and these things that younger voters are very frustrated with. They're tired of the drama. I think that's going to be the thing that continues. And we're going to talk about Tennessee later, and I think that's going to be a part of it too.
Do you see that the same way on the abortion issue? Younger voters just getting animated to come out?
Potentially. I mean, look, this was a proxy fight once again about Donald Trump and abortion and the election and, election denial. And it shows how potent those issues remain with the electorate. It should be a warning sign for Republicans in Arizona, the fact that another swing state like Wisconsin looked at those issues and went for the progressive candidate.
And the Republican in this case, as you point out, was a Trump candidate.
Absolutely.
For the Supreme Court. Another warning there. On to Tennessee. Overwhelmingly Republican House of Representatives expelled two Democratic African-American lawmakers. A third lawmaker, a white woman, survived an expulsion, she said, because she's white. Said it on TV, for their roles in gun safety protests led by young people.
Right.
Does that give the gun safety movement some wings and, as you seem to be suggesting, give young voters more of a reason to turn out?
The amount of attention that this is getting is more than I think anybody expected. And that's starting to trickle down to a lot of these young voters too. I think that, yeah, this is going to help define what the priorities are for the Republican Party. And, I didn't have to learn I didn't have shooting drills when I was in school. That's the kind of thing that these young people have had their entire, academic career. And to see how animated the Republicans were on this issue versus, even, let's say they wanted more armed security guards, right? Like there wasn't that kind of a fight that was happening. I think that it is a thing that's going to be very defining nationally for a cohort of young voters.
Again, does that have legs here in Arizona, or is that just a one-off to Tennessee?
Look, it was certainly a tremendous blunder politically. I question the news cycle is so fast these days, and people's memory is so fast, so short rather. I'm not sure that it's going to impact on our election in next year. But certainly, again, a tremendous blunder by the Tennessee Republican Party. I mean, it just, what are these people thinking?
I don't know. It's like 1870 all over again, but that's for the history books. We're going to end this segment with Kari Lake. Her travel itinerary is filled with trips to Iowa. Is she running for something, Matt?
Well, you know, she's from Iowa, I hear, Bram, so maybe she's just
She's not visiting family.
I don't know. Look, I don't think there's any question she is campaigning to be on the Trump ticket, okay? She desperately needs that because what else is there? I mean, I saw this morning a fundraising note about, 50 times if you donate, support my winning the election. I'm like, the election was over 4 months ago. So, yes, in short, she is campaigning to be on that ticket. No question.
She's running for vice president.
She's running for everything right now, isn't she? I mean, there's rumors she's going to run for Senate, for vice president. She's still running for governor. So, yeah, I mean, look, if you love what you do, if you love losing campaigns, Kari Lake's got that figured out. She's going to just keep doing it, right? If you love you don't work a day, right? That's how it works.
All right, got to end it there. When we come back, why Arizona Democrats are racing to run for Congress next year. Stay with us.